guys, welcome to the Warwick Base Camp. Here right now with Ryan Martinie. Thanks for coming over, man.
I'm my own cheering section. I'm like a Mog. Part man, part dog. I'm my own best friend. Sorry, Spaceballs reference.
That's all good. Tell us what's been keeping you busy right now. You've got a lot of new stuff coming up, right?
Yeah, man. I've been working with Bon Lazaga and Mitch Hull with my new band called Soften the Glare.
Yeah.
Which been having a boatload of fun with those guys. We just worked with Jamie King in his studio there in Winston-Salem and recorded a song that is going to help us get off the ground, our pledge campaign off the ground. Right. So, sorry, I got to do like the commercial thing for everybody. That's so lame. But we got to do it anyway, right? So, and it's good to talk about it for me too, because it makes me more comfortable talking about it. Not really, but so yeah, we worked on a bunch of songs for everybody, and we just did this one that we're going to give away essentially to, say, if you like this song, then throw us a bone. Yeah. You know, and we'll see what happens in the studio with Jamie. We had a great time working with him. He's got a modern mind, but his history is steeped in gear, and so he's a fun dude to work with, and really knows his stuff. So. Looking forward to being in the studio and excited about being not too far from home either. Sure. So that worked out in our favor, and our drummer and they go back a long way, so they've got the friendship thing together as well. So it's a bit of a family thing, friends, family thing, and an opportunity for us to finally get to share what we've been doing for the last few years with everybody.
Right. And what should we expect? How would you describe it?
Expect the unexpected. Well, I mean, it's somewhat progressive, I guess. Holy cow. Are they got some sand blocks back there? Who's got the Weiro? Oh, it's back, yeah? It's back. So that's really distracting for my weird auditory mind. So what should you expect? Yeah. Well, some music. There'll be sound coming out of some speakers. Okay, that's good. There'll be, some artwork and some packaging and stuff. But beyond that, I guess it's hard to put a kind of a label on this particular thing, because it really is about us exploring. This whole thing is Soften the Glare. It's the kind of the ethos is for us to explore together, and that means with our individual pedigrees, if you want to use their pedigree, but our histories, and what we've been exposed to, what we played, what we're known for, all those things kind of play into that. So it's a real blend of what we come from, and with our varied histories, you get everything from funk and blues and progressive and metal. It's all, and some chicken picking guitar parts in there. All that stuff is inside of what we do, and thankfully, I'm stoked to finally really be able to not have any constraints. If we want to put in a really bombastic part, then that's what goes there. If I write something or they write something that is more balladesque, a balladeer kind of thing, we're down. I guess that comes with not really having to adhere to anything. We answer to no one, and that's a privilege in life, that for sure. Everybody's got to have a boss, and I guess maybe my wife's the boss of me, but I'm the boss of me. She's not at all, ever, most of the time. Yeah, it's good to finally be able to be set free in that regard.
Do you ever feel like, obviously you have this history, and you have a fan base who want to hear a certain style or a certain style of music, but you want to push yourself at the same time and do something different? Is there a conflict there at times, and how do you handle that? Well,
I'm like everybody else in that regard. I have mixed emotions when I hear new things from people too. Yeah, we all do. I think that's a really natural reaction to it. But I think we have unrealistic expectations of our artists. We think, we latch onto the thing that they did that we liked, and then we expect them to keep doing it. Sure. And that's not how people are. I think one of the most consistent things in life is change. whether they're talking about nature or relationships or whatever it is, change is constant. And so that inside of an artist's world means that you really do have to push yourself, or probably should. If you're not, I don't know where you're going. Maybe you're stuck in your own kind of thing. Hey, have a great time being a metal musician or a jazz musician. Awesome. I think people who have that kind of focus are great with what they do. But I think for me and for many people that play, no matter what instrument it is, to get outside of your box, to be unafraid, to feel like you're your own master, that it doesn't matter what people think. You have to kind of start there. You hope that the happy byproduct is that people like or enjoy what you do, but that can't be the impetus. I want to create something that people like. Well, I don't know. That's buying into itself pretty heavily, and that says that you've got something that you think is valuable in the first place. And I don't think that in the first place. I think that it gains value only through you or for someone who likes it. It has value to me intrinsically because I created it, or we created it together. But that does not mean that it is good or valuable to everyone else. The value comes in from the listener and from your standpoint. So going at it from the angle of, let's create something that people like, that's not where I'm at. It's not where I'm living.
Right, okay, that's cool. Can we go back a bit further and tell us about how you first got into the bass and how did that all happen?
How did I get into bass? Well, I don't know. I think part of it was boredom.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, of course, and looking for something to do as a kid. I come from a musical family, and there was always music around. And a horn was there, and Dad played guitar, so the guitar's sitting around. And so having those instruments around and being a kid that's just curious about everything, most kids are, that didn't get squashed down by life soon enough. My curiosity was strong enough that led me to pick those things up and then try my hand at them and see if it was something that I wanted to have in my life. And it wasn't that cerebral at the time, but that was really what was going on. I was exploring the world around me as a child does, and so the tactile feel of something, whether that was the horn and the embouchure with the mouthpiece, or whether that was in the air from your lungs, or the vibration from the bass and the bottom notes sitting on the couch in your underwear when you wake up in the morning and having the bass in your hand, and it just feels awesome. Those big bottom notes feel so nice and warm and kind of like a blanket. They're warm and inviting. They cozy you right up. So it's hard to really put a finger exactly on why I think anyone started, unless somebody says, "Here, play this. I got you this instrument. You should play this." But that's not what happened. I picked it up through just proxy. Sure. There were instruments there, and so here they were in my hands, and I fell in love.
And you went on to develop quite a recognizable style and sound. Do you remember how that happened, or was it just a natural thing?
Yeah, recognizable style. Well, I thank you. So, once again, it's how does it start? Well, I don't know, curiosity, sounds. What music should charm and flatter the ear, as the saying goes. And so I find certain sounds charming and flattering to my ear. And I like percussion instruments. I'm a big fan of Latin percussion in particular. So, because man, it's fun. It's really hard to sit still and listen to Latin music. It's really hard. You want to move with it, and I think that kind of that vibed with me. Personally, on a deeper level than I was thinking. I was just enjoying what I was hearing, and then trying to create things that I wanted to hear, that made me have fun, that felt fun. Literally the tactile, the feel of something. That's why people like drums. Man, you're dancing. You're absolutely dancing with that instrument. And it's the same with bass too. It is a rhythmic instrument, and I've chosen to put some of that rhythmic element into how I play because I like how it feels, to actually play the instrument that way. I like the proprioception. I like the mind and body connection. You know, and I like to let that go too. And there's no thinking. There's simply the feel and the sound, how it actually feels to play a song, how it feels to interact with the musicians around you. You know, that's starting to get somewhere now in our conversation here. You know, it's not just about me. You know, that was I grew up playing in orchestras and singing in choirs, and so I think I was made to interact with other musicians. I feel that I'm maybe not at my best with other people, but I'm bettered by their involvement. And maybe I am at my best that way. That's not really for me to decide, I guess. But I feel great working with other people. I like the interaction. I like a little bit of uncomfortable sometimes. Sure. I like that I don't like things, that I don't like an idea that somebody throws out, because it shows me that I have to let go a little bit, that I have to open myself up to their ideas. Because man, that's about the worst decision you can make in a writing process or working with other people, is to shut them down or to make them feel like what they're offering isn't worthwhile. Oh, that's really bad etiquette inside of a group dynamic. Yeah. So, to empower everybody is really the key, and then to allow that energy to flow through you and hopefully feel empowered by it yourself. So that's I think an important part of being in a group, and so it really comes down. It's not just why I chose to play bass or how I came up with these techniques. It was more about at the end of the day, it's what does that mean for my overall life? If we take kind of a holistic approach, I'm not a bass player. I'm a human, and I have a day-to-day life that is simple. I put my shoes and socks on like everybody else, and right, yeah. Not today. But life is very similar to everyone else's life. And the thing that might be different is our careers and the things that separate us there. But our interest in music, the way we relate to each other, doesn't have to be, but it should be positive. And trying to keep that inside of an artistic or a creative situation, I think it's really, really important. And I'm fortunate enough to be with guys that are easy, that way. But I like to be uncomfortable sometimes. I like to have to argue with myself over it.
Right.
I like when there's an idea that happens that goes, oh, man, but let's hear it out. Man, I got to hear it out, because you don't know. When we were in the studio with Dave Fortman, it was fun because, we got on this whole kick where we'd go like this, kind of look at each other and go like this, which meant sounds good up here, doesn't mean it's going to sound good when you actually play it. So, you got to try things. You
Sure.
can't shut it down. Music is vibration and sound, so you really need to hear it. You can't just think it. You have to hear it. So shutting it down and not allowing something to come in, boy, I think you're going down the wrong road with that, in a creative scenario, and you're shutting people down and taking them out of their comfort zone, because they obviously had the courage to offer an idea in the first place. It takes courage, to raise your hand in class and go, I have an answer, or I've got something to say about this. It's the same thing, working with other artists. And so to devalue their offering that's a dangerous business to get into, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Can you tell us about LD50 and that album?
Yeah.
I mean, you switched a lot of roles there, it seemed like, with the guitar and the bass, doing new stuff. And how did you come up with that? Is it a similar thing, just coming up with ideas and trying stuff out?
I mean, we were pretty young at the time, and the youth is, needy of new things, and I think we were searching for what we liked inside of music and what we liked doing together. And it was actually really kind of easy. That was, it was a long process because it was the first record and we didn't have any kind of format yet. We didn't have a set way besides just get together and, write songs. But, it wasn't like, well, we're going to show up and we're going to run, a couple hours in the morning and then we'll take a break and then we'll run a couple hours. It didn't have that kind of process. It was get together and see what you got, what riffs do you have?
Right.
And then, working on them and making them listenable for ourselves. Like I brought up earlier, it's not what you're looking for at the end, but it's the process you're going through. Do we like this? So we had to go through that whole process. I think pretty consistently, I would say we did a lot of pre-production work, to use an industry term, or more of a kind of a studio setting term. We did pre-production ourselves in a lot of ways. We scrapped lots of parts. We totally Frankenstein songs where we'd take one thing and add it to another and and pull pieces out. So we played musical chairs with the pieces of songs, and we're trying to find what was interesting to us and what worked, what felt good, what sounded awesome. You're looking for awesome, not just good. You're looking for awesome. And, awesome is hard to come by.
Sure.
If it was that easy, everybody'd be doing it. So I think it's funny, people like to bag on pop, even though everybody likes pop music in some way or another. Sorry, everybody, Metallica's pop too. And so is Slayer. It's part of popular culture. So, Slayer fans would probably want to beat me down for saying Slayer is pop, but it is a part of our popular culture. And I don't think that has to be a negative thing at all. I think that is a really positive thing, and to have a certain ethos that surrounds a band and that lets it be what it is and lets it be popular or not. But certainly with the Mudvayne stuff and on LD50, we were searching for things that felt right and that were awesome, that rocked. There was plenty of angst. There was plenty of anxiety about the future, I think, being young men, where are our lives heading? What are we doing with ourselves? Are we gonna end up, all the unknowns? Are we gonna end up in jail, or are we going to end up, with a life that's actually meaningful? All those, that road ahead of you is never certain. And so there was some, I think that anxiety was in there as well as the angst. Listening to it, I feel like it had some of that that was almost tangible inside of the music. The angst, the anxiety, the what's next in life. Well, that was next. It was what we were doing. We were just too young and too inside of it to see that was really what was going on. We didn't know that it was going to have any success. We didn't have any prospects per se at the time. We were just writing songs. So that first record and that first experience that you get to go through writing your first record, I think is really special for a band. So anyone who sees this, I hope that bands really understand, or that hear my words, that your first record is special.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never get that same chance again to do your first record and to create an identity for yourself that is memorable or something that is actually worthwhile, worth hearing. You really, your first record is something that is, well, it only happens once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's touch on your gear.
Ah, gear. Everybody likes to talk gear. You know, I'm not a gear hound. I know guys that really are. I like to know what the guts are. I like to know about the transformers and a little bit more of that side of things. But you know, I can't tell you what's in what speakers are in an old Fender Twin. You know, my guitar player, you know, Jamie King would know. You know, he knows that stuff. I've never been a big gear hound. It's always been, well, does this work? Does it produce the sound that I want? And I've always been pretty simple that way. I like the old heads that are, you know, bass, mid, treble, that's it. You know, master and gain. Man, if you can't get what you're looking for with that, I don't know, man. You know, it should come from here and here and here. You know, so the gear is, you know, it's a part of your interface. You know, with the world out. You know, if the music comes from inside. Then you know the instrument and the gear is the interface with you and the listener. So in that way, gear is really important. But in another way, it's you know, if you get too caught up in gotta have the right gear, the new sound, or once again, I think you're barking up the wrong tree with that kind of attitude. Find something that works for you and go there. You know. But explore, you know, certainly. Look at all the fun toys sitting out here. You know, bass envelope filter. Heck yeah, man. Yeah, throw it on there. And I just put some distortion as an underlayment on a track we just did. Yeah. And but I don't use those things often at all. But as a featured thing, I was like, man, this needs to be fatter here. It needs to have a certain thing. So gear is really important when you have an idea. Just to have gear, just to have it, I don't know, I think that's kind of a silly approach to life, or to have things laying around to show your buddies or to feel cool. Goodness, that doesn't go anywhere for me. But when you have an idea and you want to have a certain sound, boy, gear comes in real handy. So to have toys sitting around is lots of fun. Plug it in, play it, see if it sounds good, see if it's right for the song. You know, I'm a song man, so I want the song to really shine. And generally it doesn't take a whole lot of gear for me to get what I want out of the song done. Other players, I just listen to Kid A, you know, on the way here. Yeah. And of course there's so much, it's really a lush landscape that's created. Yeah. And there's a lot of gear involved in creating that landscape. But at the same time, the ideas are simple and it's not overwrought. It is the idea is maintain a beautiful simplicity while using a lot of gear, and I think that would be more my personal bent. You know, I'm prone to go that direction with it instead of what's the next newest, latest, greatest thing. And everybody's trying to promote that stuff. Man, those Neve 1073s still sound fantastic. You know, but you can get great sounds right out of the box, working in the box too, you know? So it's all kind of a personal preference thing. So find something that sounds good to you. Use your ears. Does it work? Does it represent what you want to hear inside of the song? You know, that's what gear's for.
And how about your bass?
Now the bass is, because that's the first that's really the interface. Yeah, that's the connection. But let's not talk about bass, because bass is, you know, once again, that has its own set of parameters. There are lots of instruments here, and they're really varied in their strings, in probably their tunings, in their scales, in the radiuses of the neck, all that stuff. And you can call it a bass, call it whatever you want, but really, what is it for? I think is more the question. To me, it's to relate ideas. Or to have fun, but really to be able to use something to get what's in here out. So when I speak of an interface, this is your tool to do that. It's another tool in your tool belt. Could I be creative without a bass? I think so. And I think everybody can without their instrument. I think we are regardless of whether we want to be or not. I think we have to be creative in our conversations with people. To even follow a conversation, you have to be creative. Creative listener, you have to be a creative conversationalist, you have to be a creative musician. And I think that everyone has a bit of that inside them. Even the people who choose those specific roles in life, like, oh, you're an accountant. That means you see life this way. Not so. There's beauty in numbers, and there's a beauty in being able to organize things and have it and help people. And I think music does that too. And there's a beauty inside of allowing that in. No matter what your job is, no matter what you're doing, you're interfacing with the world. And so it's not just music that's important. It's being able to express something.
Sure. Yeah.
And it just so happens that I play something with strings on it, to do that, right. But I enjoyed this too, being able to talk shop, talk about silly gear things or just see what's up in your life, Sure. You ask me, I'll ask you after the cameras stop rolling, what's up, Yeah. And to me, that's creative living, We should be creative in our everyday life. That to me is much more important than narrowing it down to being a bass player or this thing has this many strings or it's in this tuning. You live creatively. We do whether we want to or not.
And seeing as we're here at Warwick,
yeah.
Tell us about your relationship with these guys.
Man, HP is just the hardest person to work with ever. He's standing right there. Yeah, you do. It's fantastic, man. So I don't know if I've ever told the story in whole, but so I was just a guy with a band that went in to make a record, and somebody made some calls. We got an advance for our first record for LD50. Yeah, we got the advance, and I was able to go to a music store, and I sat and played a bunch of different basses, and there happened to be a Thumb there. That's the first one that I bought, and I loved it. I fell in love with that sound. Out of all the ones that I played, that was the one for me. I finally had a little bit of cash to buy the one that I wanted, and it stuck out. I played Fenders, I played Ibanez's, and I'd had those instruments in the past anyway, and so I was familiar. And there's always be a nostalgic feel for those things, and I pick them up like, oh, I remember this feel, I remember how this sounds. But at the end of the day, I'm still in love with that particular Warwick bass. It's still my baby.
You still have it?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And it's the one that I recorded and wrote all the LD50 stuff on.
Right.
And so it's beyond nostalgia, though. They're beautiful. I was never into that whole crazy business of smashing instruments and stuff. I mean, oh man, you're really pushing it to smash one of those. They're pieces of art, really, in a lot of ways. But man, you get mad, and if it goes down on you, that's the first thing you're thinking, smash it. When you're on stage, it's like, man, this thing's got to go. But I've never done it, and I certainly wouldn't like seeing it done to one of my basses either. But yeah, they sound beautiful, and once again, they use the word interface. That the Warwicks sound great. The Thumbs are fantastic, and they're really versatile. I think I can get a lot of sounds out of them. Skip the gear, get it from here. Whoa. Yeah, so I try to go with that kind of organic approach to it and get it from the hands, but you really have to have a nice instrument to really let that shine, let that stuff come out. So, and the relationship with them is long-standing. They, he came to the table before I had a record out. They knew somebody had reached out to them and said, well, he's already got one, and these guys are on Epic Records, so it might behoove you to get on board. Well, they believed in me, they had heard some demos and were like, yeah. So I got an artist deal, and then kind of the rest is history as far as the getting instruments and that goes, but the relationship is deeper than that. It's fun. I've gotten to see, Estelle and Nicola grow up,
right.
And become a part of the business. And I've seen the business grow. I've seen artists, become a part of the larger family, and that's really freaking cool, man. To watch it grow and to watch it become something, new, constantly changing, and to see that has a really positive impact on people. It has a positive impact on me. It's changed my life being able to come here. For real. For real, man. So being able to meet people like John B, being able to meet people like Lee Sklar, it changed my life. Yeah. And I think that's consistent here with the other bass players. When you get in this world and are able to be surrounded by people that are your betters or are your peers, you learn. And that's really key to growth. And so as the company's grown, we've grown together. That's pretty special.
That's awesome. Thanks again, Ryan. Really appreciate you stopping by today.
Sorry, I'm so emotional. I'm so emotionally driven. Thanks for the conversation.
So we're going to wrap things up here, guys. Go check out the Pledge campaign, right?
Please. Soften the glare.
We'll see you soon. Thanks.